Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Racy from Foundation Expo 88 YouTube channel, and we're here this morning to do a couple of brief YouTube interviews with Sir Leo Hielscher. And everyone's probably heard the name because it now attaches to one of Brisbane's most loved bridges. And Sir Leo had an illustrious career being the Foundation Chairman to the Queensland Treasury Corporation, which is a highly respected role that he's undertaken over the last 18 years, 22, sorry, and is well recognised throughout the whole of Australia as a financial wizard. Now, Sir Leo had a unique role at Expo, and I'll let Sir Leo tell us just what role he did have leading up to Expo, and then I'm going to ask Sir Leo, and it'll become obvious why, as to what his thoughts were the day before Expo opened. So Sir Leo, if you can just tell us what role you had in relation to Expo.
Okay, at that time I was head of the Treasury Department with the title of Under Treasurer, and I've been there nearly 14 years as Under Treasurer. And so therefore I was very, very aware that the Expo had to be performed financially soundly, because if whatever we missed out on, I had to find the cash for, I guess.
That's right.
And the gentleman who helped me in the determination of whether we have Expo or not was a man who was the head of the Premier's Department, Sir Sidney Schubert. So Sid and I were the two state bureaucrats that finally convinced the government to proceed with Expo.
And the brains trust, really. Along with, and there's another fellow in that little story as well, David Graham.
David Graham did a lot of work before we had come to those conclusions, convincing us that it was a financially viable proposition to put the Expo on.
Yes.
And David's figures showed us that we could do that, and we would be. And he did the detailed figures of telling us what we could be able to charge the Expo people, like the Russian government, the British government, and so forth, for their exhibitions, and also what the entrance fee should be, and he multiplied it by the number he first thought of, and it came out. We were convinced, and well enough, to go to the government. I went to the government and said we can put this on at, I think, at no cost to the budget eventually. It'll cost us money up near 1,000 million to do it, and then the revenues will start coming back, and we can no doubt get very close to a line ball at the end of the exhibition.
And that was 1,000 million in 1988 dollars, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't. I've just lost the number.
It wasn't actually, it was 600, I think.
Something like that. Anyhow, when I just conclude that question. When the Expo wound up, we still owed $200 million, but we still had the land. So I was convinced that we did break even because the land was worth more than $200 million.
Yeah, right, and it certainly has proved to be one of Brisbane's best assets.
Yep.
So just going back to that question, which now hopefully people understand why. What was your thoughts the day before, when the nerves would have been at the maximum, I would have thought?
Let me put it this way, we've been through a lot of gullies that were dry and not really flooded, and but we had all the exhibitors, all the countries in, we had the gates ready to open, we had a man on the staff, the CEO, a man named Bob Minikin, who I feel should get more credit than he has got, because he was the one that rolled his sleeves up and made it all happen. Now, so therefore I was reasonably confident that when the doors opened it was going to be satisfactory. But would you believe the night before we opened, we still had a lot of painting to do on the footpaths and whatever, and that was completed by the next morning, and we opened the gates and stand back, the crowd flocked in.
There's a lot of interesting stories we've collected actually about toilets not being connected, and then discovering it after the event and digging up footpaths and redoing it all at night time. It was a hive of activity at night for the first 3 months as they proactively managed the issues. And I think on that particular note, we just might conclude this part of the series of interviews, and I can just tell that there is a significant amount more of information to come, because I know in my mind what questions I've got. So again, I just appeal to people, just have a look through all of the YouTubes that we've done. There's Gary Balkin, yesterday we did John Harris, Graham Campbell Ryder, Stephen Killick, and the very first one that Sir Leo also knows, and is probably the best one to start with, is James McCormack. They are just a brilliant series of little videos. And with that, I'll say good morning. Thank you.